Perfect.
Oh, man.
Huh.
I'm tired,
Well,
Jay.
John, yes. Please tell us what's been happening with you.
So we pushed recording a day. Normally we record on Wednesdays. We were recording on Thursday this week. Because I was out of town last night on a very quick one overnight birthday trip. My birthday is this weekend, or it will have been this weekend if you're listening to this episode on release day. So my darling, incredible, wonderful wife allowed us to go to see FC Tulsa, whose hat I am wearing if you are watching this on YouTube,
Very nice.
play at Louisville City. Louisville has very much become one of my favorite cities to go to. There are so many things to do.
There are.
And what made me so tired is we tried something new this time for getting to the game from our hotel. To date, we've stayed at the same hotel every time, which is great for like learning how to get places. But the thing that we did this time was we Ubered to the game, which was great, flawless. Like it was wonderful. What we could not figure out was Ubering back to the hotel because I mean, when you're around a stadium and even let's see, they announced it at the game. It was a regular season weeknight stadium record, and it was like 11,000 plus people, which is not nothing.
Yeah.
But around that, I mean, you shut roads down to control traffic flow. It's just what you do.
Sure. Right.
So we're trying to figure out, like, is there a designated rideshare area? And I don't really know where to look because they're not my team. I don't know. Normally I wouldn't care. So we ended up walking back to the hotel.
Oh, how long of a walk was that?
It was, I want to say, a little bit less than a mile, but it's still
Okay.
that
So that
unnerving of like vaguely uphill and
yeah.
like areas of town that you don't know in a town you already don't know.
Yes.
So that was not my favorite thing, but we did
Yeah,
it.
you start
And
asking questions like, am I walking through a shady part of town? I don't know. I'm not from here.
yeah, no, those are questions that I feel like we had to ask like a couple of times during the walk back. But at some level, I feel like that's just any downtown area in any city in America at this
That's
point.
true.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm proud of myself for having made the walk. I'm not as sore as I thought I would be. Um, and then the drive back today, 65, I-65, which connects Louisville to Nashville, was just slow for no reason.
Ah, that's the worst.
Like we went probably 3 miles in about 45 minutes
Ooh.
for nothing that I could tell.
Yeah.
So anything that was there had to have been cleaned up already by the time we got there, but that was not my favorite thing. But
Were they still doing, was there still a bunch of construction through there? Like, were they still widening the roads?
there, so it, I don't know if that's what it is. There are still some pockets of construction,
Okay.
but the road itself is in really good shape. And even then, those pockets of construction are like maybe 4 miles max.
Okay. Well,
And
that's good.
it's just dropping from 3 lanes to two.
Okay.
Like,
Because, yeah, we went up to Cincinnati not too long ago and went to a Reds game. And I remember, like, from about Louisville, like, through a big portion of Kentucky, they were doing a bunch of traffic or road construction, expanding the road and stuff.
yeah,
And I was like, man, this is very inconvenient.
yes. Yeah, no, I can't speak to whatever 64 is, but 65. Is it, while we're on the subject, does anyone who listens to us know like anything about interstates at all in the United States? Is it weird that interstates of consecutive numbers touch each other?
Yeah,
I had
that
never
is
thought
kind of
about that until I was like 64 was rough, but 65 is fine. I was like, hold up a dang second. That's weird. Um,
Yeah.
but we did a distillery tour this morning after we checked out. For lunch, after that, we stopped at one of my favorite little country restaurants, which I know because my mom grew up in the area. And I got some good sun points on that because I took a picture of the menu and sent it to her. And then yeah,
There you go.
we actually got off 65 in Bowling Green and took 231 all the way back, all the way home.
Yeah,
That's the way to do it. It just
that
avoids
is the way to do it.
all of Nashville, man. Just stay
Oh
out
yeah.
of it.
Yes. Stay as far away as possible.
Some farther than
Don't
others.
move here. We're full.
Oh my gosh, you're not lying. Anyway, welcome in. Now that we've said go away, welcome. Welcome to May's bonus episode, everybody.
May's bonus episode. I am Jay, and with me, of course, is John Jacob Jingleheimer.
Wait, but that means
John. Actually, you know
my
what?
name
That's
it's your name.
well, we shared a name, but everybody kept shouting at us whenever we went out, and so
You
I
moved
had to
away.
change
That's
it.
what you did.
Did.
You said enough of this going out together business. I'm leaving.
John, I'm ready to see other people.
I'm ready to not have other people yell at me in public. Conceptually, the thought of that stresses me out. I would not handle that well.
Ah, yes. So we are both very excited about this episode. It's a casual one. There's not going to be a whole lot of content to it. There's no telling what direction this episode could go. Um, there. I mean, we could go down several different rabbit trails. We don't know. But we've got some news for you. And then, of course, we have what we're going to be reviewing today. John has been playing Jedi Survivor
Mm-hmm.
on
Mm-hmm.
PC. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I have been playing The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom on Nintendo Switch. And so we are going to be reviewing uh, what we have seen so far, what we think about it so far, and we won't spoil any endings. I doubt John has finished it.
Oh,
I
not
am
even
nowhere
close, I don't
near
think.
done
I
to
don't think I'm
finishing it.
anywhere close.
So we're not going to spoil any endings, but we will kind of give you an idea of what you would be coming into if you're going to be playing those games. So that's the structure of today's episode. But yeah, I guess I shouldn't say the structure because this could go any direction. So that is the uh
That is the theory or the concept of this episode.
yeah, that's the general direction that we're headed.
Direction.
What a great did you okay. So John just did the salute general direction and made me think of How I Met Your Mother.
100% from How I Met Your Mother. Yeah.
And you so what did you think about the ending of that series?
I I must have a way, like some type of clairvoyance for controversial endings of beloved shows as they happen. Famously, I abandoned Lost mid-run. As soon as they moved the island on Lost, I was like, nah, I'm out. The show's too weird. Um, I really stopped watching How I Met Your Mother, and I could not tell you why. I was just like, oh, this was fun, but I've moved on.
Okay.
So I caught as it was ending, I caught up like plot synopses and things like to try to guess what's happening, and then I watched the actual end, not the full episode, but like the last probably 10 minutes or so. And I was just like, this is horrible. It's all of this build up, and then it's like it's completely trashing everything
Yeah.
for like 45 seconds of fan service.
Mm.
That at that point, I bet fans didn't even want.
I
Like
mean,
the
it was definitely unexpected. I can
yeah,
say that much.
it's got to be among the more unsatisfying endings.
It was yeah, I don't know. It was yeah, it really was a I feel like they just in the process of building the show and writing the show, they realized, "Oh, this character with Robin is really um we kind of like the two of them together." And so they were like, "How can we course correct and make it that this is who he ends up with?"
So so here's the thing about that, Jay. I I don't think that's how that happened
You don't?
because they had to record the scenes with the kids all at the same time. Otherwise the kids would have aged as time went on. I
Yeah,
think
I
that
guess
was
that's true.
planned from the beginning.
That's upsetting.
It makes it worse, right?
Yeah, it does.
Now, I want to say what they did cuz I again, when this came out and it was a very unsatisfying ending, I read a lot of like reactions to it. And one of those reactions included, I want to say it was an interview with one of the actors who played the kids. And I want to say, and it's a fuzzy memory because I'm not like super invested in this show, so it's not like the front of my mind. But I want to say they said something to the extent of they did multiple endings. They
Oh,
filmed multiple endings all at the same time when the show started. So they were never really sure which ending was going to be used, which is
gotcha.
absolutely the way to do that.
Huh.
And it makes me wonder what the other endings would have been because there's almost no doubt in my mind that they would have been better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's upsetting because it's I mean, I don't know. Anyway, that's not what we're here for. Um so news. Let's dive a little bit into that. There's not a whole lot, but there's a long list. So it'll make more sense as we get there. So first off, Burger King, the Burger King, which actually, funny enough, they're closing like half their restaurants here over the next 2 years. So that tells you how good they're doing. They have launched a red Whopper for the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Um,
isn't isn't it
so if
the
there's not enough red dye in your life,
That's the thing. That's what I was about to say. Isn't like is it like red dye 40 is the controversial food dye or whatever?
yeah,
It's at least digestible though, right?
it's digestible, but there's plenty of evidence to show that it really does tie into a lot of um
Like super bad things for your body.
like mental. It's mostly mental.
Love that.
It affects you mentally.
Big fan.
So like kids with ADHD for whatever reason are super sensitive to red 40
Explains so
and it
much.
like amps them up. I don't know. It's very weird.
Yeah, who needs caffeine when you have the red Whopper for Spider-Man?
Be up for days.
Well, it's got to be. That's such a different effect too, because they did the dyed. They do the dyed black Whopper around
Yeah,
Halloween,
right.
and I've had my own, not even really negative experiences, but just like unexpected experiences with dyes that make things black. It's a whew. That is indigestible food dye, and it does weird things when it leaves your body. Is how I'm going to choose to phrase
I can
that
imagine.
on this
I can imagine.
family-friendly show.
Oh, man. I don't even want to imagine. Like you really are going to the bathroom going, bubble, bubble, toil in trouble.
No, it's not so much that. It's a normal experience, except it's like Pocahontas at the end. Like it is all the colors of the wind. Uh,
Oh, oh gosh.
back on track. Get us
Oh,
back on
wow.
track.
Okay.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I have heard. So apparently, they've done premieres and early release showings in LA.
Uh-huh.
Some of the people that I follow on Twitter have already seen it, which I'm intensely jealous.
Wow.
And they're saying like it makes the first one's good. First one's very good. This one makes the first one look like nothing,
Wow.
which you might be able to speak to this more later. That's the same type of thing I've heard of Tears of the Kingdom. Breath of the
Hmm.
Wild is a phenomenal game. It is incredible, start to finish, top to bottom. It's an amazing game. Tears of the Kingdom, everything that I've seen, heard, watched, whatever, makes Breath of the Wild look like a demo. And that's the same conversation I'm hearing about Across the Spider-Verse,
Wow. That's saying a lot.
right?
That's a lot of praise.
Like we have an episode in the vault, not really in the vault, it's just in our show history, talking about, we watched them Into the Spider-Verse, talked about how it's essentially perfect and how a sequel is just a money grab.
Yeah.
If it's better than that, I don't know how we walk that back.
I don't either. Do we have to delete that episode from the from the lineup,
I hope not, because I'm really proud of it. Uh,
or go in and edit it and
any potential
like
sequel will be excellent. It's a wonderful idea.
exactly.
Just like that super, like when they censor a song on the radio, you're like, you can tell that's not the actual word there.
Or they take a rated R movie and they put it on
Mm,
like a channel that's
yes.
has it on during the day,
Yes,
and
snakes on a plane.
it's very clear that that's not the word that actually goes there.
Snakes on a Plane is the forever example of that for me, because it stars Samuel L. Jackson, who, at this point in all of our lives, we know he has a very
It's a
uh,
very well-known phrase.
well-known word and or phrase. And he says there's a line in, I've only ever seen this movie on TV. There's a line on the movie, he goes, it's something like, I've had it with these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday through Friday plane. And if
That
that's not the best line in any movie of all time, like I know Citizen Kane, The Godfather, like all of these iconic lines, but they've clearly never watched Snakes on a Plane on TNT at 4 in the afternoon. It's a different experience.
what did you say? Funny monkey? Is that what you said?
Monkey fighting snakes
Monkey fighting.
on the Monday through Friday plane.
That might be our new cover up. Monkey fighting. Oh man, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
That is so funny. Oh wow. I can't get over that. Okay. Um so in addition to that, so yes, I do agree with you, John. I have pretty high hopes for it. Um the one thing I have made fun of though already is there is a clip of a new spider person who is a pregnant mother, and she's on a
Oh, bold,
motorcycle.
bold.
And I laughed when I saw it, and I commented and I said, I know this is a fictitious universe and anything could happen, but I don't feel like you should be crime fighting when you're that pregnant, because she's like very much showing.
I'm staying out of that.
And I was like, I don't know if that's exactly the safest thing. It could be. I've never been pregnant before, never will be, but
Is it like explicitly said that she's pregnant? Because like I've read of enough horror cashier stories. Like if it's not explicit, like if that's not part of her character, I'm not about to like, with a theory of infinite universes that Spider Verse is clearly addressing. Like, who's to say? We have Spider
who's to say?
Ham,
That
so
that's true.
anything should be on the table.
Yeah. But yeah, so I am looking forward to it though. I think
If
it's
you
going to be at least, honestly, the first one was so good. If it was, you know, three quarters the movie that the first one was, it's still going to be enjoyable.
Yeah,
Like it's still going to be
absolutely.
fun. It just may not be perfect.
Jay, I have an unfortunate question, but now
Oh
it
dear.
can't leave my mind.
All right.
If you were to make bacon from spider ham, would it be like tougher than normal because he's a superhero, or would there still be that like bacony fat to it?
Hmm. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's a good question.
it's a horrifying question. What's wrong
It
with my
is.
mind?
It is. Um, yeah. I don't know. I don't know how that would taste.
Yeah,
I feel like it would be gamey.
probably. Speaking of gamey and Spider-Man, Jay, I know you're on Xbox, but did you see the footage that came out for Sony's Spider-Man 2
I
yesterday?
sure did. Yeah.
The black symbiote suit is, oh man. I don't have a PS5. I was holding out on getting a PS5 until KOTOR came out, which may never happen, which is a whole nother subject that I think we've gone into in depth before. Um, man, between that and Ragnarok, like, I might have to start working towards saving for one of those.
Yeah. Might have to. It looks pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
But with that, let's move into Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Early reviews
Are rough.
have not been
They're
great.
not they're not great.
As of today, which is May 25th, 2023, it is sitting at a 50%.
What does it take to be certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes? Is it 60 or 70?
I want to say it's 70.
Okay. It's one of those two. It's lower than I feel like it should be, but I feel like it also needs to be achievable, so that makes sense.
In I guess in a positive light, it's gone up because it originally started at like a
It was
23 or something
low.
like that.
Yeah. No,
It
it
was
was
really low.
it's
So it went
still
from a 23 to a 50. So
yeah, it's low enough though that I'm already moving the goalposts for this of like
absolutely.
I think this actually might have been the opinion I had on it before. I don't know that I care if it's good. I want it, first of all, more than anything else, I want it to
Be over.
quantitatively be the last one.
Yes. Yeah,
Whatever that
absolutely.
looks like. I'm going to cry if they kill him, but you got to do what you got to do at this point. And two, I don't know that I particularly care how good it is so much as I care how fun it is.
Okay.
And I need part of it being fun is it needs to make sense and it needs to work. Like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull might be fun. I don't know. I haven't seen it in like 15 years because I hate it. Um, it might have been fun, but it didn't make any sense. I don't know how you could have gone from a very grounded universe that was established in, well, the first and the third Indiana Jones movies and go to like, oh, hey, by the way, aliens are real. Like, it's a bit of a jump. So
Yeah,
I
it
hope
is.
it follows that the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, the pattern that they had of good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. So we are on pace for good,
Hmm.
essentially. So I I don't know. I'm getting progressively less excited for this. But I feel like part of that is also I'm getting progressively more excited for other things. Like I need to catch up on Mission Impossible soon
Yes, that's yeah.
because those I don't quite understand it. They look like the more budget they get, the higher quality the movie becomes, which is not always the case.
No.
Because I mean, Love and Thunder had an incredible budget, and look where we are. Like that movie looks like it could actually like genuinely be very good.
Well, Tom Cruise, he loves his audience and he knows who his audience is too. So he is selling to them. Like he knows that there's a lot of people that don't care for him, but that's not who he's advertising to.
Yeah.
He's advertising to the ones that love Tom Cruise for Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise. So,
Yeah. Watch your
and
couches.
I'm one of those. I'm one of those. Is he a crazy lunatic? Absolutely. But does he make a really cool movie? He sure does.
Is he going to be running from a low shot? Yes. 100%.
About 5 times. Um, the speaking of, the end possibly being there with Indiana Jones, Arrowverse is now officially wrapped up and is done. The last season of The Flash wrapped up, and that's all, folks.
So is Batwoman not canonically part of the Arrowverse?
That whole thing was canceled a long time ago.
But I thought I don't. Why do I feel like
Because
it's still going on?
the main actress
Left
who
after
was
the first
originally in it,
season,
she left after the first season,
right?
and then they brought in a replacement. And she was actually, from what I was told, I never watched it.
Yeah,
She actually played a completely different character.
yeah.
Like it wasn't like she played the same character. And so she came in, played it, and I think it was canceled like by the end of the next season.
Okay, man.
So
I don't know where it really stopped for you, Jay. I stopped caring about the Arrowverse when I stopped caring about Arrow, which was
yes,
like season 5.
when it was after he started running for mayor.
It might have been that season. It was the Damien Dark season,
Yes, it
which
was
isn't, and like
after.
Neil McDonough is an incredible villain actor. I think he's spectacular. But again, like I said with Indiana Jones, as soon as they started introducing magic into this grounded realism universe, I was
Right.
out.
Yeah. And in that, I don't know, Arrow, the character, um, Oliver Queen, he changed a lot after he started running for mayor, and I just didn't care for it. I
Yeah,
was like, this in the same guy. Like no, he seemed weaker or something. I don't know.
yeah. I will say,
But
season 2 of Arrow and season 1 of The Flash are two of my all-time favorite seasons of television.
oh, they're
With
fantastic.
the original Reverse Flash as the season villain for season 1 of The Flash, and season 2 of Arrow, where Deathstroke is the villain. It's phenomenal. Manu Bennett was an incredible Deathstroke. He was so good as Slade.
Yeah. That all of those shows could have been so much better than what they were.
Yeah.
Only they had asked us.
Ah, man, could you imagine
It things
how
would be so much better, John.
what show would you have wanted to greenlight if they had asked us? Say instead of Batwoman or instead of Legends of Tomorrow, like what would you have pitched?
Honestly, I would have pitched Green Lantern,
Around which one?
John Diggle.
You would have just like molded him into Jon Stewart?
I would have basically, yeah,
Okay.
I would have made him a John Stewart-ish Green Lantern, but I would have made him a Green Lantern. And the only other thing that they really should have brought in, because and Arrow in particular, they kept talking about Bloodhaven, and then they
Which is
also kept bringing
Nightwing,
up,
yeah.
yeah, they also kept bringing up at one episode they brought up Bruce Wayne, and they really should have brought in Nightwing.
Yeah.
Like Dick Grayson would have been a really cool character. So I would have brought in Dick Grayson, and I would have made John Diggle a Green Lantern.
Okay. I again, if they had been able to ask us and we just had the magic power to greenlight anything that we wanted, um I would have officially greenlit the Suicide Squad for the Arrowverse.
Oh yeah, that would have been good.
They danced around it a
They
couple of
teased at it.
times. They
Yeah.
teased Harley at least once. This was back when the PG-13 movie was coming out. And then they were like, "Oh yeah, no, we can't actually have that character there. It's weird for marketing. It's weird for image rights." Like I'm sure they had their own reasons. Um, I imagine part of that is going to be the same. They would lean on that same crutch with why they didn't actually do anything with Nightwing, because that was probably around the time Titans was coming out on HBO Max. I love Nightwing. He's my third favorite of the Robins, uh, behind Jason and Tim, and above Damien because I hate Damien and I will forever. Um, I would have been completely down with like a PI style show with Nightwing. Um, I
Yeah,
think I
you even could because at that time that was even the time when Dick Grayson became the agent in the New 52.
mm-hmm.
Um,
It was a
that
weird
would
run.
have been it was a
I
weird
read
run.
like probably a dozen issues of that. It was weird.
But you even could have started him out as that. Like he
Yeah,
could have just been this like agent guy who
yeah,
showed up on the scene and then eventually becomes Nightwing. I mean, there's lots of things they could have done, and
yeah. I mean, you also
they
could have
didn't.
folded if the actor who played Roy Harper had tried, like if he had stayed on the show instead of leaving,
Yes,
they could
that's
have
kind of tragic, actually.
spun him out into, because there's a few different comic arcs actually where his character Arsenal teams up with Jason Todd in his Red Hood persona, and
Yeah,
they're just kind of like vigilanteing around the world.
yeah,
I would have absolutely watched that. It would have been
yeah.
great.
What did they call that run? Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Which was, well, that run was Jason, Roy, and Starfire.
That's right.
But when they revamped with Rebirth, they kept Jason and Roy together, and they had like Bizarro was in that team, and there's a new character they made like 6 years ago, Joker's daughter, which I never
Oh yeah.
understood. But I also
Yes.
didn't dive into, so I don't feel qualified to have an opinion other than like, ugh, conceptually gross. Uh, so I think there's definitely a lot that they could have done, um, to try to broaden that, even at that street level, kind of like Netflix did with Marvel, how they were able to tie all of those in.
Right.
Um, yeah, pour one out for the Arrowverse. Um,
Yeah.
it's
Let
a
me I'm gonna pause right here because I need to fix something. The door keeps messing up. So give me just a minute. I'm gonna fix that.
You got it. I don't know how to fill this time. What else would I have done? It would have been super fun to bring in Tim Drake, but I feel like Tim's origin is so not known. You talk about how like Spider-Man doesn't need an origin story, Batman doesn't need an origin story. Tim does,
What'd you
because
say?
I'm trying to fill the time by saying the other things that I would have wanted to greenlight. And I was saying I love the Tim Drake character, but you can't just bring Tim in and assume people know him, because even among the Robins, like not everyone, people who are vaguely familiar with comics know Dick's origin story as
Yeah.
Robin. People who are like even tangentially aware of DC know Jason's origin story. But I feel like Tim has been so forgotten for so long. Like a lot of people either don't know or have already forgotten.
Yeah.
And he has my favorite of the origin stories. I mean, not favorite. He has the most interesting, I think, because he found out that Bruce was Batman. Like his detective skills might honestly be better than Bruce's. Like Ra's al Ghul calls him detective. He does not call any of
Mm.
the other Robins or former Robins detective. It's just Bruce and Tim.
Right.
So, I mean, there were some other things that happened, like, tragedy. It's a superhero origin story. Tragedy has to be involved. But, man, he's just such an underutilized character. He's so great.
Yeah. Well, one can hope that they will possibly bring in. him to the new DCU. Um, honestly, at this point, because Batman, I mean, all the characters, but Batman has such a huge universe in just Batman alone
Mm-hmm.
that they really could just do a whole Batman centered universe with the movies, or even do a TV show, a really good TV show, well produced, where you have Bruce Wayne, and then he eventually gets Dick Grayson, and then Dick Grayson becomes Robin, eventually becomes Nightwing, and then he gets all the other Robins, and then eventually you could have the whole Bat family
Mm-hmm.
like together and just have like their own shared universe.
Yeah. I love the idea of that. Zero part of me believes that DC could actually pull it off. But the part of me that, well, I mean, no part of me thinks they'll actually do it. 1% of me thinks they could pull it off. And that 1% says it has to be animated. It cannot be live action.
I can agree with that.
But I don't want the thing about Batman and why that's so tricky is Batman the animated series has like calling it a cult following is underselling it. It is one of the iconic superhero shows, movies, anything ever.
Yeah.
So it would have to be, to me at least, animated in the style of like Arkham City, of the Arkham games, where it's that 3D, that realism. But I don't like that's expensive, first of all. It
It
is a
is,
large undertaking. And
but gosh, it would sell so hard.
every plot that they would want to do has already been done animated.
That's true.
So conceptually, it's there. You're just so far behind the eight ball. Like that's the type of thing that I feel like stops people from trying, where it's like we can't do better than what we already did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe give it another
Three
10,
Spider-Man movie trilogies.
15. What's that?
Have them restart Spider-Man movies about 4 more times.
Yeah. Or seriously, give it about 15, 20 more years when the hype of it all has maybe died down a little bit, the
I
old
could see that.
stuff,
Yeah.
and then do it then. It might work.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. Um, Next bit of news, actually the last little bit of news is all Disney news.
What?
Disney has
No.
officially pulled the plug on Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel. Um, After only a year. It's only
And
been open a year.
this is the cruise ship?
So what they did was is they created a Star Cruiser. So they took a hotel
Okay.
and they transformed it into the Star Cruiser, and so it feels like and looks like you're on this
Mm,
galactic Star Cruiser,
right.
and you're a part of the production, and there's like this whole scenario going on, and Rey and Kylo Ren are involved at some point. It's quite the undertaking. But then also, it's super expensive. And for two individuals, it would be $5,000 for 2 nights. That's for two
Mm,
people.
that hurts me inside, Jay.
Yeah. So Disney said, you know what? Let's not lower the price and let's just cancel the whole thing.
I mean,
And so
it's
that's what they're doing,
one way to balance the books, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah.
Um, Also, we talked last episode about Disney kind of they lost a whole bunch of viewers for Disney Plus, a lot of subscribers. They kind of took that as, hey, maybe we've got some stuff on here that needs to be taken off. So they have taken off because, and I think this is important to remember, Hulu is under the Disney umbrella. So they Hulu kind of it is its own thing, but Disney owns a very large portion of Hulu, and so they get to control a lot of what's on there. And so Disney Plus has removed a lot of stuff from Disney Plus and Hulu. Um, some of the things that might be noticeable would be things like the Turner and Hooch series that was released on Disney Plus, the Mysterious Benedict Society, the Mighty Ducks Game Changers, Willow, the Making of Willow, Diary of a Future President, The World According to Jeff Bloom, the new Cheaper by the Dozen, Artemis Fowl, The Princess Encore, Black Beauty, Clouds, American the Beautiful, Better Nate Than Ever, which that was brand new. So that actually shocks me that they took that off. Trying to think if there's anything else that most people would know.
I'm personally just I'm about to is writing senators still a thing that people do, or is that like an old person threat?
That's an old person threat,
Okay,
John.
then I'm gonna write my senators that Disney took off pentatonics around the world for the holidays. I'm sorry, it's Memorial Day. I need my acapella Christmas special. Thank you.
Stuff leaving Hulu. Why The Last Man, Pistol, Little Demon, Maggie, Dollface, The Hot Zone, The Premise, Love in the Time of Corona. That sounds
Oh,
awful.
yeah, no reason that
Um,
got taken off. Like, whoo,
everything's
we are
trash.
wanting to move past that.
Best in Snow, Best in Dough, Darby and the Dead, and The Quest.
So,
So,
inspired by Love in the Time of Corona, which is a sentence I never thought I would say in my life. Um, which hypothetical season of television do you think will age better? The one made during COVID that leaned into COVID and made COVID like a character on the show. The one that comes
don't
to mind
even
for
get
me
me
is like I think
started.
Grey's Anatomy did that.
Don't even get me started.
Or the ones who were like, "Hey, yeah, you're watching this as an escape from how life is actually like going right now. We're not bringing that mess up here. It does not
Okay.
exist in our fantasy land."
Oh my gosh.
Like if I'm watching a show that like it has COVID as a character, and this is again like you said earlier, vaguely in the future, I'm skipping entire seasons, man. Like
Yeah,
I'm
I'm not
not.
gonna watch that.
No, I don't want to like.
No,
Yeah, I don't want that.
no. That would be like, I'm sorry, but it's and maybe it's not an equivalent, but to me it's like making September 11th a character in your show.
I mean,
But like in the time that September 11th happened. Like
okay, I
Friends.
got you. I
Like
got you.
did Friends take place during that time? I can't remember.
It had to have.
I don't know. I'm not recalling
I
any shows that took place during that time, but
don't want
still,
to look that up.
that
Yeah.
would be like a show during that time, like Home Improvement. I know Home
Lilo and
Improvement was
Stitch.
going on.
Lilo and Stitch had a plane chase near the end of the movie that was
Right.
animated and it was supposed to go in
That's
a
right.
city. And
Right. And they took it out and they replaced it with the alien ship
yeah,
instead.
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be like
So,
if
or
Lilo and Stitch
Spider-Man.
hadn't changed that.
That's right. Spider-Man did that too. Spider-Man caught a helicopter in a web in between the Twin Towers,
Oh
and they
man.
had to remove that scene completely
Ooh.
because of September 11th.
Yeah. So it would be
So
like
like,
if those proactive changes hadn't happened and instead they were like, "Hey, what if we lean into this aggressively?"
yeah, what if we just decide to leave it in and almost make it a character in the
Mhm.
movie? It's like, no, nobody
Yeah.
wants to see that. That for me ruined. So we were huge fans of This Is Us, and This Is Us on NBC. They did that. They've leaned in on the whole COVID thing,
Okay.
and the whole season was terrible. It was awful.
Well,
I was like, I don't like this at all.
that show in particular, like it started off up here. Like it started
Yeah,
off strong. And I feel
it
like
did.
it progressively just lost momentum. It did like
It
it
sure
just
did.
got worse over time.
It really did.
And you hate to see
Yep.
it.
It's sad.
You want to see it at least like peak near the end again. But nope. RIP.
Yeah. Well, the last little bit of news, and this is actually pretty, for me, I think it's a little upsetting. I'd be interested to see what you think, John. But due to the contract, the writers for Deadpool 3 have with the studio, actors will have to follow the script to the letter.
What?
That means Ryan Reynolds will not be allowed to improvise any lines during production while the strike is ongoing.
That's absurd.
So Deadpool 3 has begun filming amid the writer's strike.
What if there's spontaneity planned in the script? Like could that be a theoretical workaround?
I mean, theoretically, yes, but
Because like there's a really famous
but
scene in Deadpool 1 where Wade is going into the facility and he's strapped down on the gurney and they're like, "Don't leave me alone out here with," and then it's just like he one-liner, one-liner, one-liner. And I could genuinely see that in the script as like, "Don't leave me in here with Ryan Reynolds ad lib. Just go."
but that takes away from what if he says something absolutely hilarious during the course of filming
Yeah.
and then they can't even use it.
I would almost think you would have to prioritize filming all the scenes that do not have Deadpool in them.
Yeah.
Because like it's weird to think about, or at least historically it has been weird for me to think about, but movies are not filmed start to finish.
Right.
They're just kind of filmed, I feel like, as you can get actors and like work them into the schedule. It's kind of like Tetris to some degree. Um you can film everything you can without Ryan Reynolds first, because I don't know if there's an end in sight for this strike. But we need ad lib ability. We need spontaneity for this to even come close to the second one, much less the first one, which I think we can all agree is better.
Yes.
That's troubling. I would have rather them just stop production, honestly.
Me too. Me too.
Man. Also, I did not fully read the rundown to know that we were going to talk about Spider-Man 2 later in the episode. But reference the top to bottom remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, a beloved PlayStation 2? Like what era game is this? Like early 2000s?
PlayStation 2, I believe.
That sounds right. I I talked about this in one of the discords I'm in. This is very questionable for me because Konami is the developer. They have a hilariously fractured relationship with Hideo Kojima, who essentially like Metal Gear is his. Every Metal Gear game that has ever been made, he did. And before Death Stranding, there was another, like they had a huge falling out, Konami and Kojima, and he left. He's gone. So them remaking this game without him, if that's what they're doing, is a horrible idea.
I agree.
So I know some people are very excited for it, and I'm excited that they're excited. But I'm absolutely not getting my hopes up until
Oh, I'm skeptical.
until the review embargo lifts and we can actually like see gameplay and get reviews, sort of like what we're about to do. Man, I'm just ugh.
I don't know. It does. It's curious to me. I'm very curious to see what happens. I am. I heard that the remake of finished oh shoot, the game has left my head. Uh Resident Evil 4. They did that with Resident Evil 4. They did a whole top to bottom remake, and I've heard it was really good.
They've been doing that with Resident Evil games, though. Like, they've done 2, 3, and 4 all within the past 3 years, 4 years. And they've been essentially not even really, I wouldn't even call them remakes so much as it is remaster, because the game is the
Well,
same, the mechanics are the same.
well, they did. So it's actually interesting. They did a remaster first.
Mm-hmm.
So it was basically just the same game. It just would looked better.
Yeah.
But then they actually did a complete remake. And so
Ooh.
it played different too. So like in the original one, I don't know if you ever played the original one,
Mm-mm.
but when you're aiming to shoot, your character stops moving. So you can't move and
That's
aim at the
gross.
same time. And so obviously in the remake, they changed that. So or in the complete remake, they changed that. So
Gosh, what's a dumber mechanic? You can't aim and move from Resident Evil or from Halo. Like, you have this incredible helmet and you can zoom in, but as soon as you zoom in and fire your weapon, it unzooms you.
yeah,
What's a dumber mechanic? There's a dumber mechanic than those two that exist. And if you're a
I'm sure
gamer,
there is, but between those two, I would say the Resident Evil one
probably, yeah, that neither of them are good. Let us know.
because that's
Please
hard.
please reach out to us with your least favorite game mechanic ever.
Yeah,
Because those are horrible.
yeah. So there's some really bad ones out there.
Man,
But yeah. So as far as shows go, real quick, Visions season 2, John, did you get to watch any of it yet? I
I
know last
am
time you
I'm not gonna lie to you. It has been so far out of sight, out of mind.
okay. So what I'll just say about it real quick is it's good. It's not as good as the first season,
Yeah.
but it gets better as you go along. I was starting to doubt it. I was starting to think, "Oh no, I don't think this is going to be as good." But after episode maybe 4, it really picks up and
Okay.
it gets
And
really good.
and they're all about half-hour episodes ish.
Yeah, I guess the shortest one is probably about 14 minutes
Oh,
and
that's
then the
not bad.
longest one is about 23.
Oh, that's very manageable.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So you could easily crank out like 3 episodes back to back to back and still have plenty of time to
I'm trying to think what was my favorite episode from season 1. It's probably the Ronin.
the Ronin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was
I did
was
like that one.
any episode of season 2 comparable to the Ronin?
Um the okay, so there is one. So the studios are very different this time around.
Right.
They're from different parts of the world. And so one of the studios, I'm guessing it's a studio that's based out of like Pakistan or something like that. Because there's like a lot of Muslim art style
Oh,
in there.
cool.
And it was the coolest episode. I loved that episode. Mainly because of the Inquisitor that comes in. He just looks awesome. And I'm
Oh,
like,
I
whoa.
do love a good Inquisitor.
He was really neat. And so there was that one, and then there's one that ends and they totally set up for a sequel. So I'm
Awesome.
like, okay, are
Some
they going to
of
come back and
some of
and
season 1
and
did that, I feel like.
they did. So I'm hoping they come back
Yeah.
and do some sequel stuff with some of them. But
While we're on the topic of Star Wars, I wanted to do a quick moment of remembrance for Ray Stevenson, actor who recently passed away.
yeah.
Was Volstagg in the MCU, but for Star Wars purposes, he was the voice of what's his name? One of the Gar Saxon from animated shows. I don't know if Gar Saxon was in Clone Wars or just I think it was just Clone Wars, right? Because he and
It was
Ahsoka
just Clone
fought.
Wars. He wasn't in Rebels.
Okay. But he plays a character in the upcoming Ahsoka show. Um, so yeah, I don't know if it was kind of out of nowhere or whatever, but moment of silence for an actor who has passed.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it how big of a role his character actually played. Um, because he looked very menacing
Oh, absolutely.
in the trailer that we've seen. So, gosh, I hope that show is good.
At this point, I think we need it to be good.
That is going to be the show that's going to make or break me
Star Wars.
having Disney Plus. Like if that show is not good, it might be the end of Disney Plus for us.
Yeah. I'm gonna go further than that. I mean, we'll probably keep Disney Plus because it's just I bundle it with ESPN, which I watch. Meg watches Hulu a lot, so the bundle makes sense for us as an entertainment package.
Yep.
Um, so much of just Star Wars in general is banking on the Ahsoka show being not like it being the best Disney Plus show is the floor.
Yeah.
That's the floor that it needs to have. And that includes The Mandalorian, which, I mean, is really good.
Yeah.
Star Wars needs Ahsoka to be better. And that's, whew, it's rough.
Speaking of Disney Plus, we've talked a lot about that tonight, but um the Loki series, which comes out this fall, is going to be released weekly. Okay.
Right?
So every Wednesday,
That's
that's going to come out. Okay.
okay.
Echo, on the other hand, all of its episodes are being released at the same time.
Huh.
What do you think that means? Because I have a theory about what that means for me, but what do you think that means when
They
you
have
hear
more
that?
faith in Loki's audience retention.
Boom. I think they see that to me, I think it's they're to me it almost sounds like they're doubting their own product. Like with Loki, they're going, "Oh, this is going to be great." And everybody's going to stay tuned. Whereas Echo, they're like, "This could go downhill really fast."
I
And then people are going to stop watching.
I don't know that I think it's that so much as I think it is Loki by this point has been a character established in the MCU for over a decade. Cuz I mean Avengers 2012, right? Echo has been in one thing. And before that one thing even came out, I want to say that show had already been rumored or announced or confirmed. I know there's also starting, I think it was this past Wednesday is New Comic Book Day for those of you who have lives and use your discretionary income responsibly. Um, a new run of Daredevil and Echo just started.
Oh,
Written by
interesting.
one of the guys from the Black Eyed Peas of all, which shocked me a little bit.
What?
Um, but they could just be trying to capitalize on that while because they could be trying to capitalize on prevalence inside of the fandom. Um, I would say the numbers of the Disney Plus originated character shows are probably quantitatively worse than the MCU movie established character shows, and they could be leaning into that where like you said when Miss Marvel came out, if this doesn't grab me, I'm not going to finish it. And it didn't grab
Right.
you.
It didn't.
So over the course of 2 months, it's going to be a lot harder for it to work to grab you versus if it's, well, I have all 6 episodes here. I can knock this out over the course of a week and see at that point. Like it's a lot easier to give it one more episode when you have every episode.
That yes.
So I want that to be more the case. I think both are true.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Yeah. I would
I could
also
see that.
wonder how much they're having to redo Loki with the Jonathan Majors things that are going on.
Yes, I
Like,
read that actually today. They've already started to talk about who they're going to replace. Like, what villain are they going to replace Kang with?
could you imagine if they didn't replace Kang, but they just replaced Jonathan Majors? And the chaos it would be if they brought back Michael B. Jordan.
Yes.
That would be that would be a thing. Cause I mean Michael B. Jordan is like near universally beloved, right? Like I don't know that people have bad things to say about him. He seems like a pretty stand-up dude.
Yeah.
So just find a way to have like, oh yeah, Killmonger was MCU Kang or something. I don't freaking know, dude. They can retcon him to be something else.
They could do lots of things, but I've heard that the Loki series, the season 2, like I read somewhere that they're already reworking the very end of the season to
Oh
fit
no.
into what's happening. Because unfortunately it does not look good for, I can't remember his name, but the actor who plays Kang.
Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, Jonathan Majors.
I mean,
It's not looking good for him. Like, it's one
yeah.
of those things where everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but it's not looking like, it doesn't look like it's going to be in his favor.
Yeah.
So that it's
I mean, there are if they're having to replace Kang, Kang is the Avengers level threat of phase whatever phase are we in 5?
something like that.
He's the big bad. So replacing him is not something that you do lightly because you have built everything around him.
Yeah.
So if you're replacing the Avengers level threat, Jay, with your knowledge of Marvel Comics as it is, who do you promote to big bad status?
For me, it's an easy one. It's Doctor Doom.
Yes, that is easily the
Like,
first name.
like you've already said you're going to be introducing the Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
Just go ahead and make Doctor Doom the big bad, and he's the, like, change. I don't know if there's a comic run called Kang Dynasty, but just call it Doom Dynasty or something.
I tell you, I just had another idea, Jay, and this would be a very bold way to completely reshape the phase of the MCU. So bold, I don't think there's a feasible way they can pull it off and it work. There is a comic run, a full standalone comic run of Avengers vs. X-Men. What if the X-Men became the big bad?
I'd be down with that.
Like I have goosebumps from theorizing that because that is such an interesting subversion on what we all expect to happen.
Right?
But that also pulls back to what we talked about earlier with Deadpool 3 because you have to imagine Deadpool 3 is the X-Men introduction to the MCU. It's either Deadpool 3 or Captain America New World Order because the rumor for that is the Celestial's body from Eternals is how adamantium is discovered in the MCU. So I would say it's probably 90% in one of those two things is the official X-Men introduction to the MCU.
All right.
And that would be, man, that
And you
would be
know
so
what?
freaking cool.
They didn't ask us.
Man, that's probably better that they didn't because that conversation surely has been had already, and they're just like, yeah, no, that's a ludicrous idea. There's no way we can do it. But it's not going to stop silly people like me from hoping.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. But I would love to see Doom becoming, because Doom is, I mean, he's he's pretty bad
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
and extremely powerful
Mm-hmm.
too. I love the comic scene. I think it's a pretty recent panel, but it's Doom meeting Thanos, and Thanos has his gauntlet with the stones in it, and Doom asks Thanos like what he's got there, and he's like, "This is whatever. This is the most powerful thing in the universe." And Doom is like, "Oh, that's interesting," and just shoves his hand through Thanos,
And turns him to
grabs his
dust. Yeah.
grabs his spine and turns him to dust. And it's like that's intense.
All right. So we've rabbit
Like,
holed enough without getting to our main topic, but I will ask you one last Fantastic Four question, Jay. Do you establish them in the MCU with an origin story, or do you do what you did with Spider-Man and just assume it's known?
because the last somewhat good Fantastic Four movie was so long ago, I think you do have to do an origin story.
That's gonna be tricky.
Yeah, it is. But at the very least, I think they need to, if they're not going to do that, they need to at least have like some sort of like flashback or something
Or like be
in the movie.
backdoored in through something else.
Exactly. So,
Yeah, completely agree.
but we're an hour into this now.
We haven't even talked about what we're here to talk about.
Let's let's get to the main event. Uh we are reviewing Jedi Survivor
Mm-hmm.
from John. That's what
Mm-hmm.
we'll be hearing about. And then from me, you'll be hearing about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. John, who we didn't even talk about who's going to go first. Do we flip a coin or
I'm content to just go. And part of my reasoning for that is I think ultimately Tears of the Kingdom is going to last longer as the better game. So I feel like it's more reasonable to end with that.
okay.
I don't want anyone to interpret that statement as saying Jedi Survivor is bad because it very much is not. Um, to this point, I don't think I'm very far in the game. I think I'm Skyrimming. By that I mean I've done like maybe 3 plot missions, and I am just side questing days away. I know I got this game last weekend in Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon. I put like 12 hours into this game. So I played this game for like 6 hours, 2 days in a row. And I have a very close friend who we would play Call of Duty together probably like 2 or 3 times a week for probably 2, 3, 4 hours each time. Since this game has released, I have not seen him once. This game has consumed him. I can feel that it is going to consume all of my gaming time as well.
Yeah.
The open world aspect is so much more here than it was in Fallen Order, because even in Fallen Order's open world, there was still that linear aspect to it of like you have where you are and you have where you need to be. Even where like planets where you would go back and forth multiple times, there was still this start and finish. And I don't feel that yet. Um, I think I've unlocked a lot of the shops that you have available. I have not unlocked all of the movement mechanics yet. I don't know if you remember from Fallen Order, but one of the things that you do throughout the course of the game is you learn new skills. So very, very conveniently, and one thing I do very much like you keep the skills that you learned from the first game.
Oh,
So
good.
force pull, force push, wall running, like these things that you had to master in the first game, you start the second game knowing. You have them available. One thing that I think is really cool that they added is the different lightsaber stances. So you have single blade, double blade, which is the Darth Maul, uh, dual blade, which is Jarkai, what Ahsoka does, and blaster is the wild card of them all. You have a single blade in your right hand, and your left hand you have a blaster. It's very fun. I unlocked that. It's the last one you unlock throughout the game. It's very satisfying.
That sounds like a
Customization
lot of fun.
customization in this game, I would say somewhat famously, was not there in the first game. It was
No.
limited to your lightsaber, and even then, it was very limited. You can customize your blaster, you can customize all of your clothes, you can customize your hair, which was not in the first game. You could change your poncho, you could change your outfits. But top to bottom, you can have one of the first hairs I found was a mullet. So I'm having a great time. In my inventory right now, I have both mullet and handlebar mustache.
That's
He
fantastic.
is yeehawing his way around the galaxy.
With his
Um,
blaster and his
with
lightsaber.
absolutely. So, one thing that I don't love is the community of Star Wars is so, um, like Star Wars gamers, I guess specifically, want that interaction. They want the views, they want the clicks. So there are a certain amount of things that have been spoiled for this game already, and I'm not thrilled about that because I wanted to experience them organically. Um, I don't really know. I don't feel super far into this game yet. Like I alluded to, I've done like maybe 4 story missions, and I imagine there's at least that amount left. So, I want to give it an incomplete rating for now, but it's an incomplete trending like 7.58. Like the movement is there, the combat is there. Beast encounters are still there like they were in the first game. The base mechanics are kind of there. It's a very, very enjoyable Star Wars game. I would say very easily the best Star Wars game since Fallen Order. Potentially past that as well. So, if you're a Star Wars fan and you have a machine that can handle playing this game, I 100% recommend this, not even having finished it, which is not something that I'm normally going to do.
That's awesome. Fantastic.
Is it getting released on the Switch?
Well, I
Because
doubt it.
Fallen Order never did it?
No.
Just the remasters of the like PS2 era games?
Yes.
Like Republic Commando is, Jedi Knight 1 and 2 both are.
Yeah.
I think my
Yeah.
sister got one of those remaster packs, and I was like,
My
"Yeah, please get those. They're excellent
so
games."
my oldest Antonio, he was wanting a single player game, and some he had a few extra Xbox bucks to use, and he was like, what should I get? And I was like,
I would like to make a motion that they're called X Bucks.
I don't even think they are, but that would
Though
be
officially they're not. I
fantastic.
think they're just called like store credit or something
Oh yeah,
dumb. X Bucks was right there.
it's right there.
Man, they didn't ask us, Jay. They didn't.
They did not. But he got Force Unleashed 2.
Oh man.
He was like, "Should I get a Star Wars game?" And I said, "You should if you can afford it." And he was like, "Which one?" And Star Wars Force Awakens or Force Unleashed 2.
I'm just
Uh
picturing you in the living room in that conversation. Yes, you should get a Star Wars game. Just like Jedi mind tricking your son of just like, you will get the Force Unleashed too. Yeah,
Force
yeah,
Unleashed
I
2,
think I
and
will.
yeah, he's like, "Yeah, I think I will." And I'm like, Yes, you will, because it's really good and
It's
you're
so
really going to
good.
enjoy it. So he really does. He loves it. He's like, this is really good, even for its age. And I'm like,
I'll have
yeah,
to.
it was.
So I have one very incredibly bitter memory of Force Unleashed 2. Um, Force Unleashed 2 holds the very rare esteem of being a game that I rage quit and then never picked back up.
Oh wow.
So there's a level in that he's probably incredibly past it by now. But it's entirely movement based around the force dash. And if you time it wrong, it just shoots you all the way back to like the end of this cave or something. Because it's like wind blows you, but you have to get to the things that block the wind in a certain amount of time. And I just couldn't do it. And I abandoned that game over 10 years ago and never
Oh
picked it up
wow.
again.
Oh wow.
So I'm a
Okay.
little bit upset at
So maybe you need
myself.
to pick it up too and
I
finish it.
probably, yeah.
It's
I'm,
super cheap.
yeah, no part of me doubts that.
Yeah, it's
Especially
good.
on the Xbox 360 that I have back there.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Very, very cheap. Just go find a disc.
Yeah. Um, yes. So you give it a, you said a
An
7.5.
incomplete but trending 8.
Okay. Very
Also,
good.
I will have the caveat. Um, there's a series of games from there's a developer called From Software. They've made the Dark Souls games, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, where they're ludicrously difficult games. They're entirely technique based. And Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor are kind of Star Wars' answer to that genre if you choose to play it on those difficulties. It has like Recruit, Jedi Knight, or it has like Padawan, Jedi Knight, Jedi Master difficulties. But then even easier than Padawan, the difficulty is literally called I'm here for the plot. And
That's awesome.
I do feel the need to have the caveat of that's what I'm playing on. I'm 100% here for the plot. Parrying is so much more like every combat mechanic is so much there's so much more forgiveness in timing and damage. Like I have never died in a fight the entire time I've played this game because like I have a lightsaber and they have feathers. Like it's not a true like playthrough of this game because I want to experience everything without the Dark Souls rage that I know lurks inside of me from
Yeah.
from that style of game. Um,
Understandable.
but yeah,
Yeah.
trending
Understandable.
8.
Okay. Very good. Well,
How,
Legend of Zelda.
how much time do we have for you to talk about how incredible
Yeah.
this game is?
Right. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I don't even know where. No, I do know where to begin. I'll begin at the beginning. Um, so I think it's important to understand how this game came about first. So, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I'm just going to refer to them as Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Breath of the Wild was released, and it was the first time that we actually saw a true RPG style Zelda game where your armor had different ratings, your weapons had different ratings. Um, it was a massive open world. So much life in this open world, so many different things, so many moving parts. It was really something, so much to explore. It was one of those games that they really wanted you to explore. Yes, there were objectives, but you could do anything in any order that you wanted to. In fact, they made it so that if you wanted to, you could go straight to the boss at the end and take him out immediately if you wanted to. And if you had that skill, you could do that. John has a shocked face.
My curiosity got the better of me, Jay. So I Google searched how long to 100% complete Jedi Survivor. It's 51 hours. If you focus on main objectives, it's about 19 hours. Tears of the Kingdom, if you focus on main objectives, just focusing main objectives, it's 53 hours.
Wow.
And if you want to 100% this game, the fastest you are likely to do it is 174 hours.
I believe it.
That's absurd.
So, um, Charlie will be driving by the time I'm done with this game.
That's only like 14 hours shorter than it takes you to 100% The Witcher 3,
Wow.
which is, we all know how that game is.
Yes.
Whew.
So, um, Breath of the Wild was released, blew everybody's mind, okay? And then they were like, hey, you want some more Zelda stuff? Well, we got some DLC. And everybody was like, sweet. So they gave this DLC. It was actually really good DLC. I think everybody really enjoyed it. I really liked it. Expanded on the story even more. I really appreciated it. But turns out they had even more DLC that they could have released. However, they said, you know what? This is getting really big. So what if we just hold off on all this other DLC that we have and just make a whole new game? And so that's how we got Tears of the Kingdom. Was they took the same exact map because it is exactly the same and they just added all this extra DLC stuff that they had created and made a whole new game on top of it. So it really is. That's why they made it a direct sequel. This was the first time
Okay.
that Tears of the Kingdom is a direct sequel to a Zelda game. That's never happened before.
Huh.
And the reason is because
They had
first off,
so much.
it was a giant map. So it was like, why make a whole new map when you could just use the same one again? And then also they had so much extra stuff that they could put in it that they basically had a whole new game.
Yeah.
So the game actually starts out just like as if you played the first one, and it's just a continuation of the first one. And so of course, like typical Zelda fashion, um, the princess gets she
Is in another
disappears.
castle.
She gets put
Sorry.
into another
I'm,
castle,
I'm mixing Nintendo there.
and Link actually he almost loses his arm, and so his arm gets replaced with this like almost like mechanical arm, and it's got all these powers in it that you learn, all these new abilities.
I've watched some people play a little bit of Tears of the Kingdom, and I refer to Link's arm as his mid-20s tribal tattoo phase.
That's very accurate. And yeah, so now you have all of Hyrule, basically the same map that it was before, with a few exceptions. And then you have islands floating in the sky, and then you have an entire um, underground that is just as big as Hyrule, but it's caves. It's a cave system.
Ooh.
So it's this massive cave system that's just as big as Hyrule. So it is a massive undertaking. Um, I will be honest with you, I have done maybe two things with the main objective,
Yep.
and I have gotten so distracted by other things that like I reached the point where I was like, okay, I need to get back on track because I'm getting like I started I don't know, it's almost overwhelming. But
Yeah.
one of the coolest things that I've enjoyed about the game is if you there are two things. if you played the first one, then you already know where certain shrines were in the first one and where certain like key locations were in the first one. And so if you know, you can go to those spots and there's usually something waiting there for you. So they have like a certain treasure hidden
Okay.
if you can go to the if you can find those spots, which was really cool. And then the other thing is that if you still have your save file on your Switch, then when you go to the horse stables, all your horses are already there.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
Because I know that's one thing. Like I have not played Breath of the Wild yet, and I'm not proud of that. But Meg has. She has played Breath of the Wild. Probably it's probably her third most played Switch game behind Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley. And I remember watching her like trying to work to tame the better horses. So are they still like? Do you keep the good horses, or or is it just cosmetic?
it's their stats,
Oh
your
my
relationship with
gosh,
them, everything.
that's awesome.
Their look, like if you had like a certain look with them, like they look exactly the same.
Yeah,
It's all the same horses.
that's so cool.
Yeah, so that's been really neat.
I have one question for you, Jay. I mean, I have multiple questions, but initially, what's your favorite type of shrine? Because I know there's like movement ones, there's magic ones, there's combat ones. So what is your favorite challenge inside of the shrine environment?
In Breath of the Wild, my favorite was the combat shrines.
Mm-hmm.
Those were my favorite. In the new one, I haven't come across a combat shrine yet. The shrines are a little bit different this time around. They look different. And I think there might be more of them too. But so far they've all just been puzzle.
Okay.
You have to move things a certain way, but the fusing. So that's something different about this game. So in the first one, there's ice arrows, there's electric arrows, there's fire arrows, there's bomb arrows. In this one, there's one arrow. Like there's just arrows. Like there's not. So I haven't been playing, but like maybe probably 20 hours, maybe. Probably not even that much. And I already have like 200 something arrows. But how it works is that you can fuse things that you pick up to the end of your arrow or to the end of your weapon, and it makes it stronger. So it's no longer like, oh, you found a fire sword. You found an electric axe
Whatever.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's you take like, oh, you found a skeleton arm. Okay, I'm going to fuse this skeleton arm with this horn from this lion, and now I have like this really awesome axe.
Huh.
So it's really cool. And then you also have where you can pick up stuff and fuse it together and build like I've built planes. I built a roller coaster at one point. I fused a. This was the coolest thing I did so far. I fused a. It's a coal mining cart. I fused it to my shield, and then I went shield surfing on the track for the mining cart, and so I was shield surfing on the mining cart.
Okay.
Like
In your head, were you playing a song from a Tony Hawk soundtrack?
I totally was.
Okay. I'm glad you referenced the fusing mechanic because any content that I've seen of Tears of the Wild, whether it's like on Reels or on YouTube Shorts or just like on Twitter, the creativity of fusing, like for a gamer reference, we're talking like Minecraft levels of creativity.
Yes, exactly.
Like
Yeah.
I watched somebody in the first week of this game being live, they built a helicopter and recreated that scene from Apocalypse Now.
I love it.
Because they have like turrets and stuff too, right? Is the
There's
thing that
rockets.
you can fuse to
There's
it. So they had fans on board. They had like rotors and everything. And it was just flying through the air with that same song. And I was like, I can already tell this game in some form or fashion will be around forever.
oh yes,
It's incredible.
it is. There's so many different things that can be done, and I think that's what I love about it is I think what they did was is they saw how creative people were being in the first one with like solving shrines without basically doing anything. They were just like projectile themselves across the entire shrine and solve it. And they saw that and they were like, what if we just gave them the tools and then they just figure it out?
Yeah.
So in each shrine, there's probably honestly there's most likely like 50 different ways that each shrine could be solved. But it's up to you. It's like how are you gonna do it? How do you play the game? So it's pretty awesome. It's something I'm gonna be playing for a long time.
Yeah. I know. So Meg beat Breath of the Wild probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she immediately turned and looked at me and she was like, "So we can go ahead and get the new one, right?" And I was like, "Oh man, how do I say no to that?" So I expect it is in our near future. So hearing your recommendations, everything else that I've seen about it online, like I stayed up way too late. This would have been 2 weeks ago, I think, was launch day of Tears of the Kingdom, and a streamer that I follow he was playing the new Resident Evil 4 remaster, and then he was like, "Well, he's in LA," so he was like, "Well, it's 10 o'clock here. That means Tears of the Kingdom is live. What if we stopped playing this and we play the first like entry mission of the new Zelda game?" This grown man, he's like our age, but he's a grown man. We're also adults, which is upsetting. Um, he played through the entry until you get the arm, and he paused the game and he cried because it was perfect. He was like, "This reminds me of everything I ever wanted a Legend of Zelda game to be. This is my childhood. These were like the iconic franchise for him specifically growing up." And it's like when life was bad, when situations were bad around him, he had Legend of Zelda. And watching people have that type of reaction and then seeing nothing but, is this one of the greatest games of all time? As a direct sequel to, is this one of the greatest games of all time? Is incredible to me.
Yeah. It's something. It really is. And I had a hard time sleeping the night before it came out. Like I felt like a kid at Christmas. Like
Yeah.
I was so excited. And I think the creation aspect of it and the total freedom of like you make this your story. Like you do this however you want to do it. You know, the fact that I've heard people that have said already, they're like, I have played. I saw somebody on Twitter. They said I have played 45 hours of Tears of the Kingdom and haven't even started the main objectives.
Yeah, I believe that.
And they're like, and they're like, honestly, I almost don't even want to because I'm having so much fun just roaming around doing whatever comes up. So it's pretty incredible. So it's going to be awesome to see how where this goes, and I'm interested to see what happens with the main objectives and but as of right now, I mean, I'm like I said, I think I'm probably around 16 to 18 hours in, and I'm gonna give it right now. I'm giving it a 9.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah,
I mean,
that even that seems low to me.
I don't even know what's gonna happen with the main story. I think that's gonna decide for me if it gets a 10 or not.
I was about to say
Is like
at some
how
level,
good is the story?
do you care too is part of it.
Yeah, right.
Because everything else is so good. Like every mechanic, every piece of gameplay and all that can redeem a mediocre to bad story.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll let you know.
Excellent.
Yeah.
When is our next? I'll open the season 4 plan. Our
Our next
next bonus
episode will
bonus episode
actually,
won't be till July.
yes.
So we have time to
So,
revisit.
yeah. But as far as our next episode for you guys will actually just be in a week,
Mm-hmm.
June 5th. So that will be cool. June 5th, June 19th. I don't even know what we have coming up next, to be honest.
June 5th, I have our season 4 plan open. June 5th's plan is Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, okay.
So, whew.
No
June
pressure.
19th, our plan is Transformers Rise of the Beasts. And my curiosity with that is, will I have to have seen all of the Transformers movies? And also
Doubt it.
I somewhat begrudgingly am planning to go see The Flash. I'm entertaining going to see it in IMAX the Monday
Okay.
before it comes out
Okay.
because Nashville has one of those like sponsored pre-release showings at IMAX, presumably at Opry Mills. Um, Actually, why would it be at Opry Mills? Put it at 100 Oaks. It's a much better theater. No one's here for my Nashville theater opinions. Um, so I think that could be another where if you wanted to see Transformers, I could go see The Flash. I don't know that I have budget for both.
Yeah.
And I'm just committed to seeing how much they butcher Flashpoint at this level.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be great.
Yeah, I actually am excited for the Transformers because I saw Bumblebee and it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't get as much credit as it deserves so much more credit than what it got.
I believe that.
But yeah, all right. Well, that's it. Tears of the Kingdom and Jedi Survivor. Um,
If you have the
high
capacity, yeah.
recommendations.
If you have the capacity, you have the ability, you have the discretionary income. Again, don't do silly things. Um, Absolutely pick one and or both of these games up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely worth it. Well, that is it from us. John, you got anything else?
Remember to wear sunscreen when you go outside. I looked in the mirror earlier. I was a little pink. I forgot to
Yes.
sunscreen before I went
That
outside
is important.
yesterday. So, please
I
be
went
responsible.
I went fishing last weekend with my dad on Center Hill, and
The only thing
I
he caught
got
was a sunburn.
I caught a sunburn and a panfish. That was it.
Mm.
There was also a tournament going on Saturday, and we both swear
Uh,
that the tournament fishermen were catching all the fish because we didn't catch a single thing on Saturday.
I believe it.
It wasn't until Sunday that we actually caught something.
They left it for you.
Yeah. Oh, we'll throw
Dang.
that one back. They can have that one. But anyway, all right. Well, we will see you guys in 1 week. But until then, nerd out.